This presentation is entitled Meta-Learning, Skills for the 21st Century. And when we talk about meta-learning, what we mean is learning about learning or learning how to learn. It's in contrast to learning content. Rather, it's about learning strategies and tricks to help learners get at the content. The subtitle, Skills for the 21st Century, means that what we're doing here is adapting workplace skills for an educational environment. The theory behind meta-learning, as we describe it, comes from workplace essential skills training. And what we're doing is adapting it to a college or university or perhaps even a high school environment in order to help students really move their learning forward, particularly those students who seem to be stuck at a particular level or who have difficulty transitioning from one level of a subject to another subject or from one context to another context. We've divided the skills into two fundamental groups. Words and numbers skills are the bedrock fundamental kinds of skills that everybody uses everywhere. These skills are like oxygen and nutrition. It is, if you don't have them, you can't do anything, essentially. Different people have different levels of these skills in a mixture. It's rare to find somebody who's got really high-level language skills and really high-level math skills, so that does happen. It's more likely to find somebody who is more weighted towards language and less weighted towards math. This distinction really is sort of the arts and sciences distinction. Word people tend towards the arts, and number people tend towards the sciences. But every kind of job requires both language and math skills to some degree. The difference between these language skills and math skills in the meta-learning context is that the way we teach them is not like teaching an English course or teaching a math course. It's teaching the skills in a particular context. So in the workplace, what kind of language and math skills do you need to be a carpenter, a baker, or what have you? In the academic context, what kind of language skills do you need in a biology class? What kind of math skills do you need in a biology class? Instead of taking the skills detached from any particular context or environment, the skills that we're talking about in the meta-learning context are all about skills within a particular context. The second level of skills we are calling adaptive skills, and the reason we call them adaptive skills is that different contexts require that one use these skills in different sorts of ways, or that one be able to sort of adapt to the environment using these kinds of skills. And we divided these skills into visual, social, and technological skills. The visual skills here is perhaps the odd one out and the most difficult to explain. However, if you think about it in terms of looking at a visual array, looking at a document that it combines words and text, or going into an environment where there are lots of signs and posters and various kinds of indications of what a person is supposed to do. It's essentially how one adapts to the visual array of what surrounds a person. Often this visual array will occur on the computer screen or it will occur on a piece of paper, but it's just as likely to occur on a wall as in the case of a clock, for instance. Social adaptive skills are the skills that have to do with dealing with other people, listening to other people, speaking to other people, working well with others, being able to do teamwork and that sort of thing. Technological adaptive skills are very important in the 21st century because what they are all about is a person's ability to take up new technology, to look at something like a computer or an iPad or a mobile phone and be able to quickly pick it up and learn how to use it to the fullest extent possible. The key to meta learning as we present it is that it is entirely context dependent learning. Nothing is abstract in meta learning. Everything depends on what kind of context a person is in. So we need to get at what a person needs to be able to do in a defined environment, and we can define that environment as a dentist's office, if you are a dentist or a hygienist or even a frontline office worker, or we can define it as a biology class. We look at where the person is and we integrate competencies to that environment. So we can't stress enough how important context-dependent learning is and how that really helps students move ahead. If you can make the skills that people are learning entirely relevant to some kind of goal or aim that a person has, then you're much more likely to get that person to be successful. The strategies we offer in meta learning and skills training are customized strategies. That is, we look at learners in terms of where they are in their particular context. Again, we find out what each learner needs, what he or she needs it for, and how we can help him or her get it. So it's context dependent, but also customized, which is, we don't just treat every learner, as a certain grade level or as a certain year level. We try to look at what individuals need for themselves. And I think everybody in education knows that you may have a first-year English class, for instance, or a first-year science class, and the people in that class are going to be at all kinds of different levels. So instructors are forced to sort of find some kind of happy medium, which probably doesn't even really exist. This allows the instructor to teach at the level he or she sees fit, and if somebody has trouble with that level, then we can bring in the meta-learning skills to help that person get the strategies to get at that content that might otherwise be difficult. The meta-learning process uses authentic materials. That is part of the context dependency, because we need students to be able to see that what they're doing is immediately real, relevant, and reinforcing. You may remember learning math as you were growing up, learning all kinds of math skills, but not really how they attach to the real world. So if we're teaching something like math, we're teaching how the math works in that particular situation so that it's relevant, and it's reinforcing in the sense that once you learn this stuff, the fact that you can pick it up makes you better almost immediately. And assessment is a very large part of meta-learning and skills training. We do pre-assessments of students. We find out what level they are at, and we do post-assessments of students after they have been through what we call an intervention or a training program. So we will find out where students are, and this is how we sort of customize our strategies based on the skill level that a person shows on a test, like the test of workplace essential skills, for instance. And once we find out where they have weaknesses or gaps, we target those gaps, and then to make sure that we have properly addressed them, we offer a post-assessment. And the important thing about assessment in skills training is that it's not an IQ test, it's not an aptitude test. It simply tells you where you are at in a particular moment and allows you to address gaps that you may not even know that you have. And the post-assessment is important because these are skills that if you use them, you can function perfectly fine, but if you don't use them, they go away quickly. And what we like to do is make sure that people understand that in order to keep building on their skills, they need to keep using them. And then finally, what's crucial about meta learning is that students see the results immediately and get it. It's like suddenly the light goes on. They are able to understand the trick to reading their textbook, to following their lectures, to note-taking, to the kinds of numeracy and literacy skills they need in a particular environment. It really is like turning a light on. And once they get it, this comes back to what we were saying on the previous slide, their learning is reinforced and they seem to take off in an incredible kind of way. Now, we haven't really been able to go into specifics in this brief presentation. All we're doing is giving you an overview, and in future installments, we will show you particularly how this kind of training or meta learning works.